A very good morning, everybody, and a warm welcome to everybody joining us today for this live webinar. It's 6 a.m. in Rhode Island, USA, 10 a.m. in London, 11 a.m. in both Paris and Geneva, and it's 3:30 in the afternoon in India and 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Dhaka. My name is Priyajit Debsarkar, and I'll be hosting the session today. On March 25th, 1971, 53 years ago, the West Pakistani Army, along with the local collaborators, perpetrated horrific atrocities in Bangladesh. We pay tribute and respects to those who fell on that day. Their targets were civilians, including students, women, and children. The impact of these actions in 1971 continue to resonate deeply, shaping the world we live today. Author Gary Buss, in his books The Blood Telegram, labeled it as the forgotten genocide, which is the eyewitness account of an American diplomat, Archer Blood, stationed in Dhaka. The organizers of today's webinar is Genocide 71 and Mukto Asor in Bangladesh. They had started their journey in 2017. They have done several activities like 64 district level data collection of genocide, interview of the victims and the family members, organizing discussions and programs of international level and webinars like the one we are doing today. We believe that these initiatives gives us the opportunity to present the tragedy of 71 on a larger global scale, especially in different languages, to reach out to a wider international audience. We are very honored and thankful to our distinguished panel who are joining us today for this fabulous discussion, which we aim to bring some light into what happened 53 years ago in Bangladesh. I would like to now give the floor to our keynote speaker, Dr. Syed Muntasir Mamun. He is the Chief Innovation Officer, Director General of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Dhaka, Bangladesh. The floor is yours, Dr. Mamun, please.
Thank you, Priyajita. Namaskar. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Good morning. And I believe that we are joining from a host of time zones from across the world. It is indeed a privilege. It's a deep honor and a privilege to come across such a distinguished panel and also our friends from wherever they're joining for a cause which is very close to our heart. As I was discussing with Priyajita earlier, that I grew up in a situation when discussing about the Holocaust in Bangladesh, about the genocide in Bangladesh, was undergoing a systematic, let's say, uh, denial. Because discussing about the Holocaust, discussing about the genocide, it was not really, what should I say, not really welcome by the system. As you might be knowing, that it started, of course, after the 71 war. But in 1991, with the formation of Shaheed Jahanari Imam's movement for trial of the war criminals, that's when it started. It to begins, it took shape. But then the trial itself, and also Jahanari Imam, who had lost her son, a valiant freedom fighter, and also her entire family was put under trial for treason, for asking for justice for what had happened in 1971, particularly the genocides in 1971. Again, a bit of personal touch. When I was growing up, it was like insurgencies in different parts of the country. And one of the things that we used to do, one of the two things that we used to do during the weekends was to go into different villages, different river stations, and find out what had happened in 1971. The wars, the small battles which had taken place over there, the killings, the dead bodies where they had been buried, trying to find out where those dead bodies were, and how many people died, what the circumstances of their deaths were, and offer a little bit of prayer over there. Now, 40 years back, this was just a ritual that we used to do almost every week, because we have almost 85,000 or 87,000 villages, 961 rivers, more than 300 river stations. So it's like a never-ending process. But when I look back at it, at that point in time, it was just something of a family outing. When people grow up with such death and destruction all around, because Bangladesh had started with scorched earth and nothing else. So when we had started with such a thing, the death was all around us. visible impact of death and destruction was all around us. So we grew up with that. But when I look back at it, when I look back at that time of the 80s, and when I look back at what I'm doing currently at this moment, I believe that those were very informative, and those contributed to my being who I am today. And when we as a country, when we as a government, when we as a people seek, demand justice, I know that you just pick up any random village, anywhere on this country, and find out what happened over there. And you'll find 10, 15, 12, 30, 150 dead bodies buried in a bamboo grove or somewhere in an old water well. So this is what it used to be. And I've been speaking to some of my friends from other countries which had participated in the war, and I tell them that you don't need to believe me or anyone for that matter. You make your own survey. You just go to any village anywhere on this country, not even the village, in the city itself, where I'm sitting right at this office where we are. Across the street is Dhaka University, where the all started on 5 March at midnight. Operation Searchlight started from here. The deaths started from here. Then it spread all over. So I'll just quickly go through some of the things that we believe are necessary, because I'd not like to go for a full-fledged presentation of a keynote. Definitely will be there for a review later. But I'd like to see that what had happened, how we have rationalized it, and why the recognition for the genocide in 1971 is important. It's not only because 3 million were dead, 300,000 women were raped, or maybe 100,000 or more war children were sent abroad because we could not accommodate them. But that is something that needs a closure. But it's not only because of closure, but something else. It goes into the epistemology and the epistemology of statecraft, of being, of diplomacy that we are in as of now. So I'll share a bit of a PowerPoint presentation, recognition for genocide, and I'll quickly go through this so that we don't lose track of it. There are 14 or 15 slides, but I'm not going to speak out from the slides. It's just a marker so that we don't lose tracks. Defining genocides, when we had been discussing 20, 25 years before, when we had been discussing about genocide, those were probably some of the formative years when genocide was finally being recognized globally, particularly with ICTY, ICTR, and others, especially after the Nuremberg Tribunal. Then ICTI, ICTY, ICTR, and also the Khmer Rouge, the Cambodian trials or reconciliations were going on. Then the South African reconciliation was going on. Many things were happening between 1991 and 2000. And you see that many of the definitions had started from there as well. But one thing surprised me was because it started with Lemkin, and Lemkin's definition, which had come up from 1944 book of the Axis rule in Europe, or in the occupied territories of Europe, that did get reflected in the Genocide Convention. But the Genocide Resolution, which was there in 1946, part of it was not really there in the convention. Some say that the prevailing politics or diplomacy of that time prevented the entirety of the text from being adopted as Genocide Convention. But that is very important, that, okay, there is a bit of political element. And it's not because of the political element, it's because of the idea, the ideation of politics, the ideation of who gets to exist and who gets not, is probably where the crux of genocide is. Not only about mass killing or killing of many millions, it's about the abominable, the abhorrent denial of the right of existence of entire human groups based on some arbitrary factors. It could be race, it could be religion, it could be anything. But the very idea that I exist and you don't, that somebody else decides that who gets to exist, that's probably something which matters most. The test of genocide, if you look at the Bangladesh genocide, even if you go through the genocide conventions, you'll see that the five-fold test, the killing of members of armed group of the group, causing serious bodily and mental harm, deliberately inflicting the group conditions of life, calculated to bring about its physical destruction, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children. Almost all of them have, one way or the other, manifested themselves in the war of 1971, and how Bengalis were treated. We're grateful to India that India had given us both earth and water, shelter for more than 10 million Bengalis who had fled the country during the war, and they were sheltered. The war of liberation would not have been so swift, and the victory would not have been possible to be attained at such a short notice of 9 months. Although we lost 3 million people, but 9 months was a relatively short amount of time. It's because of India. So we remain grateful to India and its people and its government. If you look at it, you'll see that the test of genocide, which is also a little bit broader with the European courts and also with the ICTR, the Akayesu case, that I'll read it out, that the ICTR clearly identified that subjecting a group of people to a subsistence diet, systematic expulsion from homes, and the reduction of essential medical services below minimum requirement tantamount to genocide. That is a little bit wider explanation to what constitutes genocide, but that itself was also there in addition to all the other initial tests of genocide in 1971. The 10 stages of genocide, if you look at it, you'll see that anyone would see that we have gone through the classical textbook cases of genocide in Bangladesh: classification, symbolization, discrimination, and ultimately denial. Till today, 54 years have gone by. No one has taken responsibility for the genocides. Some people have expressed regret of what has happened, or for what has happened, or for the excesses which have been carried out. But the denial exists, and probably that is what is most hurtful. For a Bengali, for a Bangladeshi, for a Bangladesh national, not only as a government officer, just as a human being, that very denial that something happened for certain reasons and that is denied is a hurt, and that hurt goes into the divided mind. The most important part for any genocide is not only the act of genocide itself, it's the monstria, the genocidal mind. The incitement to genocide is a crime under international law. But genocide itself, the monstria, is important because if you look at the European Court of Human Rights, the judgment in Zurich and Germany, it says that it did not consider biological, physical destruction to be necessary as the intent to destroy national, racial, religious, or ethnic group as a social unit was enough to qualify as genocide. It's not only the destruction, but the intent to destroy was more than enough to qualify as genocide. Some municipal laws have, like in Germany, has also upheld this definition. Now, we have gone through some of the other definitions as well. I'm just referring to some of the definitions here. I'm not just going to go through it, but Jack Newson's, Yehuda Gors, and Barbara Harf, and Greg Gors, and Frank Jock, and Kurt Jonathan, these are there because we can see that the systemic, the mechanics of destruction, the mechanics of genocide was very much present, and how it happened, why it happened, how it happened, and how it kept happening, that over these 9 months is very important to be attributed, to have some sort of due diligence, to have some sort of accountability and closure, so that it doesn't happen again. See, for Bangladesh, this transitional justice was a long overdue process. After 1971, immediately in 1972, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman started with the process, father of the nation started with the process, but he could not finish because of 1975 assassination of himself and his entire family. It only started when Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina came back to power, and ultimately the International Crimes Tribunal for Bangladesh was constituted. But that covered only the war crimes, the gross violations of the war crimes, not genocide itself, because genocide itself requires that there is attribution of responsibility. That this is a long overdue process. We ourselves alone cannot do it. It requires a global recognition of what had happened, what had transpired. We are fully open. Bangladesh is open to all inquiries, all information, all data. It's just a matter of intent. See, there's one thing which has happened. Now, I'm a very optimistic person. So I would not say that the genocide was all bad for Bangladesh. It also created something good. What did it create? It created an impactful development economy. So if you look at Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's economics, and also the economics and the economic policies, and also the social and cultural policies that Bangladesh has, It is a developmental ambition where prosperity is balanced with responsibility and equitability. A vision where all are welcome. It's an inclusive polity, a secular dispensation of statecraft, a humane foreign policy, a value-driven foreign policy. So when we participate in the UN peacekeeping forces, it's not only for keeping order, it's also coming from our innate ability to empathize with individuals, with nations, with countries, with peoples from all over the world, those who are going through traumas and tribulations and trial by fire and, and by blood, that what they're going through, because we ourselves have gone through this. That is one of the reasons. That's one of the major reasons why we had opened our borders to the Rohingya refugees from the forcefully displaced Myanmar nationals from Myanmar in 2017. There was nothing else. Simple, because we had been given shelter by India in 1971. So we did not want to let go of an opportunity to reciprocate that favor. Maybe India doesn't need this, but the displaced Myanmar nationals needed it. And the International Court of Justice has taken cognition of that cognition of the forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals' rights on their land, and also the genocidal intent of the perpetrators of the crime. And that case in the International Court of Justice has opened up the possibility of cases like the one which is currently going on, which South Africa has lodged, and also other cases or possibility of cases. And these cases are not only for punitive measures. Really, genocide is not for punitive measures. Those who have died are already gone. It's for prevention. Never ever. Denial and impunity can lead to new crimes against humanity, particularly with the introduction of foundation technologies, which is coming up. If you look at the future, you'll see that foundation technologies, identification bias, these are going into artificial intelligence. Biomechanical and biotechnical modifications, enhancements, maybe singularity, those will become an issue sooner than later. Epigenetics and the possibilities of an induced superiority and therefore obliteration of so-called inferiors. Warfare and command responsibility with the application of drones. Collateral damages as opposed to legitimate military objectives. Truth and reconciliation in the absence uh, of discernible governance mechanisms. Subjects and objects of law, the legal evolution, that which is covered under law, which is covered under which law, municipal law, international law, these are becoming issues. Although we see radio silence in across many parts of the world for many years, and I was just discussing this yesterday, that many things have happened over last 50 years or maybe 60 years. But after 1991, or after the initial thrust of the ICTY, and ICTR, not much has gone into the narrative epistemology defining genocide and how to prevent that genocide. Because the concept of genocide, its identity, and the politics associated with its identity and its act, its commission, remains very much valid. So that is why the recognition of 1971 war genocide is not only important for Bangladesh and its own healing as a national identity, as a nation state, but also to look into the future of what is coming. Because what bothers me, what affects me, also might affect you. There is a saying in Bengali which says that "Shabar upor manush sotto tahar upor na," which means that above everything else, above everything and anything, is the human identity. There's nothing beyond and above the human identity. If the human identity is protected, if the human identity is considered sacred, then everything else comes in line, everything else falls in line. And until and unless we close all the loopholes, until and unless we plug all the deficiencies, the institutional faults, this remains not only an open wound, this remains a danger. So that is where my presentation is, or that is where the keynote mostly covers. But what I would suggest is that we go for a discussion and see where we end up. Because today, on the verge of the 25th March in Bangladesh, you know, all the statistics are out in the open. Everyone can see what has transpired. So there's nothing new in it. What is new in it is how we conceive, how we perceive what had happened and reconcile with the divided mind, and reconcile with the future which is coming up ahead and which is relevant to all of us here and beyond. I rest my case. Thank you. Jai Bang.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mamun. Very insightful analysis, and especially those slides. We will share them. Without any further ado, I want to invite now Monsieur Stéphane Michot. He's the president of Ideal International Foundation Paris. He's also an international lawyer. The floor is yours, Stéphane.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my friends. And thank you for all of the estimated guests, ladies and gentlemen, and scholars and activists from all around the globe who follow us now. Hope you are very numerous. So today we gather in solemn remembrance, collective reflection on a pivotal moment in history of the Bangladesh genocide of 1971. And I would like to title my intervention as the Bangladesh Genocide 1971, Indelible Marks of the Conscience of Humanity. Why could we say this? Because it's not only happened to the Bangladesh experiment, it's happened also to the world. It's an event that not only shaped the destiny of Bangladesh, but also left indelible marks on the conscience of humanity. As we come together in this international webinar, it is our shared duty to honor the memory of those who suffered, to acknowledge the resilience of the survivor, and to recommit ourselves to the principles of justice and human rights for all. The year 1971 stands as a testament of the human spirit struggle against oppression in the face of unimaginable atrocities. The people of Bangladesh fought for their right to self-determination, freedom, and dignity. As we reflect on these events, we also recognize the importance of historical memory. Remembrance is not merely an act of looking back, but a commitment to the future, a pledge to never allow such atrocities to happen again. And it is our collective responsibility to ensure that the lessons of 1971 are not forgotten, that they inform our actions and policies, and that we remain vigilant against the forces of divisions and hatred that can lead to such tragedies. Today's webinar serves as a platform not only for remembrance, but for education and advocacy. By bringing together voices from around the world, we underscore the universal significance of the Bangladesh genocide. We affirm that the struggle for human rights and justice knows no borders, that the pain of one community affects us all, and that our collective action can pave the way for a more just and compassionate world. As we engage in discussion and share insights, let us do so with the understanding that the remembrance carries with its responsibility to act. Let us support initiatives that seek justice for victims and survivors, that promote reconciliation and healing, and that work towards preventing such atrocities in the future. Let us also advocate for the inclusion of the Bangladesh genocide in global narratives of historical injustices, ensuring that the sacrifices of those who suffered and are recognized and honored. Today is not about reflecting on the past, but also about shaping for the future. Together, let us pledge to carry out forward the lessons of 1971, to stand in solidarity with all who seek justice and peace, and to work tirelessly for a world where the dignity and rights of every individual are respected and protected. And to succeed, we need to understand a key question: what is the impact of this genocide on our memory awareness? The intersection of memory awareness and genocide addresses a crucial aspect of human rights: how to learn from past atrocities. This moment of awareness of this genocide addresses a crucial aspect of human rights: historical accountability, and the mechanism by which societies remembers, commemorate, and learn from past atrocities. Memory awareness in the context of genocide serves several fundamental purposes, each contributing to the overarching goals of justice, reconciliation, and prevention of future atrocities. Let's explore this purpose and their significance. Acknowledgement for validation of suffering, justice and accountability, education and prevention, social cohesion and reconciliation, affording human rights. Regarding acknowledgement and validation of suffering, memory awareness ensures that the experiences of victims and survivors are acknowledged and validated. In many instances, genocide is accompanied by denial and suppression of facts by perpetrators and sometimes by the international community. By actively remembering and acknowledging these events, societies can offer a form of recognition to the suffering enduring by victims, affirming their experiences and dignity. Regarding justice and accountability, the act of remembering genocides is intrinsically linked to the pursuit of justice. Memory serves as a powerful tool in the fight against impunity, supporting efforts to bring perpetrators to account. Through detailed historical record testimonies of survivors and the preservation of evidence, memory facilitates legal processes aimed at delivering justice and reparations to victims and their families. This process is essential for the healing of individuals and communities affected by such crimes. Education and prevention are a key issue. Memory awareness plays a critical role in education, teaching current and future generations about the horrors of genocides. Social cohesion and reconciliation. Remembering genocide is also crucial for the process of social cohesion and reconciliation within affected communities and societies at large. By confronting past atrocities openly and honestly, societies can embark on the difficult path towards reconciliation. Affording human rights. Finally, memory awareness of genocide reinforces the value of human rights and the importance of protecting those rights. It serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when hatred, bigotry, and authoritarianism go unchecked. By remembering a societies reaffirm their commitment to the principles of human dignity, equality, and the universality of the human rights. The commitment is foundational for creating resilient communities that respect diversity and reject violence. So, in conclusion about this, memory awareness of genocide is not merely an act of looking back. It is a forward-looking commitment to a world that learns from its past, honor the dignity for all citizens, and actively work to prevent future atrocities. It embodies the collective resolve to say never again and never give up, not as a mere slogan, but as a guiding principle for action. In our human rights implication, we could have several lessons for human rights protection in this genocide question. The need for rapid international response, the importance of universal jurisdiction, strengthening international institutions, supporting transitional justice, global human rights advocacy. The events of 1971 reinforced the role of global human rights advocacy in civil society in mobilizing international attention and action against human rights violation. The Bangladesh genocide of 1971, in conclusions, remains a pivotal moment of the history of human rights protection, illustrating both the depths of human cruelty and the enduring resilience of the human spirit. It serves as a solemn reminder of the ongoing struggle to afford of the dignity and rights of all people, challenging the international community to learn from the past and strengthen its commitment to preventing future atrocities. Thank you for joining us in this important act of remembrance and commitment. Together, we can ensure that the legacy of the Bangladesh genocide of 1971 continues to inspiration and hope for generations to come. Thanks, all my friends. I have said.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and really appreciate you coining that term of international angle for the Bangladesh genocide. We will, of course, publish your paper in our website, and we also will probably do it in French. And now we would like to call upon Mr. Biro Diawara, Secretary General of Interfaith International Geneva. He's a human rights defender, and he has multiple responsibilities. The floor is yours, Mr. Diawara. Is joining from Geneva, Switzerland. Thank you.
A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu sallu wa sallim. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, it's an honor and a privilege for me to take part in this important webinar commemoration. Today, commemoration of the 53rd anniversary of the human tragedy in Bangladesh, which very few people are talking about today. This day of commemoration is a black page in the history of the valiant Bengali people. It's our collective responsibility to work together for justice, to restore the dignity and the memory of the victims. Geneva being the temple of human rights, I would like this commemoration to take place in person, but we are prepared to do either at the June session of the Council or in September. Have we learned from the past with the cycle of violence that continue around the world? After the recent genocide in Rwanda in 1999, we have seen a silent genocide in DRC from 1998 to present day with more than 10 million dead. After the genocide in Darfur, which claimed 3,100 lives, the same generals, Emeti and Gruhan, who caused this tragedy, plunged Sudan into a bloodbath. Everyone say the atrocity inflicted by Hamas on the Israeli last October and the disproportionate response of Israeli army against Palestinian civilian population does not leave our conscience alone. It's vital for the victims to recognize in all period of history genocide inflicted great loss on humanity. The Convention of the Prevention and the Punishment of the Crime of Genocide is the first human rights treaty adopted by General Assembly on 9 December 1948 and succeeded by adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on the next day as an effective international instrument for the prevention and the punishment of the crime of genocide. The impunity for genocide, war crime, and crimes against humanity encourages their occurrence and is a fundamental obstacle to the force of cooperation among people and the promotion of international peace and security, and that fighting impunity for church crimes is an important factor in their prevention. As you know, this session happening yet Human Rights 55th Council will adopt next April resolution on prevention of genocide. The reference of document is A/HRC/55/L16. As you know, there is not consensus at the council level on the resolution. Every year since March 2008, only some countries, we are here for commemorative day. It's important to raise the name of those countries who support the resolution for prevention of genocide. It's initiated by permanent mission of Armenia and support by Andorra, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Costa Rica, Croatia, Cyprus, Denmark, Ecuador, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Israel, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Mexico, Monaco, Montenegro, Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Peru, Poland, Portugal, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Ukraine, UK, US, and Uruguay. It's important for us, civil society, to work closely with those member states and also to strengthen our collaboration with the Secretary General Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide. I hope we in near future come to hosting here in Geneva during Human Rights Council session, a international symposium on genocide in Bangladesh. We can't forget victims. We are here today to express, to stand up, to honor memory of those victims. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Diawara. It's always a great pleasure to hear somebody from the Temple of Human Rights, which is Geneva, and for your suggestion, which I'm sure we have the Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here, so we can take this offline and work towards it. I know you might have another appointment, so feel free to leave, or you are most welcome to keep on.
I can now have 10 minutes more with to listen other speaker, no problem. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would like to now introduce the next speaker, who is Mr. Christopher Blackburn from United Kingdom. He is an associate of the Bangladesh Europe Foundation. Unfortunately, he could not come in person. However, he has submitted a video submission. I would ask Mr. Abu Syed or the technical team in Dhaka to please kindly play the video of Christopher Blackburn. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, esteemed advocates, and fellow champions of justice, it is with a profound sense of honour that I address you today on this solemn occasion of Genocide Remembrance Day. I express my heartfelt gratitude to Priyajit, Abu Syed, Mukto, Asor, and to the Bangladesh History Olympiad for extending this invitation to speak, and to all of you who tirelessly strive for accountability and justice regarding the tragic events of 1971 in Bangladesh. Your relentless dedication serves as a beacon of inspiration for us all. Today, as we gather in remembrance, we are presented with a unique opportunity to confront the shadows of history and forge a new path towards a brighter future, particularly for Bangladesh and the broader region. It is imperative that we acknowledge the crucial role played by India in coming to Bangladesh's rescue during these dark times. We must also honour their sacrifices in helping to stop the genocide. The United Nations, born from the ashes of a world scarred by the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust, stands as a testament to humanity's resilience. And they were born with a solemn vow of never again. Yet as we convene here today, we are reminded of the stark reality that this pledge remains unfulfilled in the face of the genocide perpetrated during the Liberation War of 1971. Pakistan and its radical Islamist auxiliaries escaped justice by the global community. And I commend the people of Bangladesh for trying the perpetrators in Bangladesh at the International Crimes Tribunals, which was set up by the government of Sheikh Hasina in 2009. Now it is incumbent upon us to pay homage to the unsung heroes of South Asia, who transcended national boundaries and historical grievances to don the blue helmets of the United Nations. They have safeguarded humanity's most vulnerable. Bangladesh is the leading contributor to global peace and to the United Nations family. And this epitomizes the selflessness and embodies the spirit of unity and solidarity that transcends political divides, the very reason of why Bangladesh was founded. So the United Nations owes Bangladesh, and we must not overlook the role of the UN in this current reckoning. The wounds of 1971 run deep and are etched into our collective memory of a nation that was scarred by mass atrocities, and the silence of the UN speaks volumes, because within its archives lie the untold stories and the suppressed truths that demand to be unearthed. Bangladesh has defied skeptics and critics alike, emerging as the little engine that could, while transforming itself into a real Asian tiger economy. It is imperative that we confront the uncomfortable truths that linger in the shadows of its history. Now in 2022, there were some major developments. Anthony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, acknowledged the legacy of Archaeology Blood and his role in 1971, trying to underscore the moral imperative to confront past injustices. This move represented a crucial step towards reclaiming America's role as a defender of human dignity and the rule of law, a role which has been previously marred by Cold War realpolitik and the global war on terrorism. We also saw in America that there was the introduction of House Resolution 1430, which aim was to recognise the Bangladesh genocide of 1971. So is it a forgotten genocide? I don't think so. A new generation is demanding justice in Bangladesh. So today, let us shine a light on 4 critical issues. They were the systematic targeting of women, the insidious denial of genocide, there's been the violence against Hindus, and the deliberate assaults on civilians, the Bengali people. These are not mere historical footnotes, they are enduring symbols of a nation's quest for justice and healing. The plight of the Brangona, the brave women who endured unimaginable horrors, must never fade from memory. Their stories serve as a clarion call for a new generation of activists and scholars committed to confronting the past with unflinchingly honesty. Genocide denial, whether propagated by misguided revisionists or complicit governments, undermines the very essence of justice and reconciliation. We cannot heal wounds that we refuse to acknowledge. The targeted persecution of Hindus during the Liberation War stands as a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty and intolerance. We must stand in solidarity with those who continue to suffer from ethnic cleansing and targeted persecution in Pakistan. And we must not forget the innocent civilians whose only crime was dreaming of a better tomorrow. Operation Searchlight was not just an assault on individuals, it was an assault on humanity itself. In the face of such atrocities, silence is not an option. We must heed the lessons of history and demand accountability, not only for those who committed the crimes, but for also those who turned a blind eye. We stand on the threshold of a new era. So let us summon the courage to confront the past and shape a future rooted in truth and justice. Recognizing the genocide in Bangladesh is not only a moral imperative, it is a testament to our commitment to a world where the horrors of the past are never repeated. So let us raise our voices in solidarity with the people of Bangladesh and declare with unwavering determination, never again shall we allow the shadows of genocide to darken our shared humanity. Let us inscribe a newer chapter in history, one characterized by truth, reconciliation and healing. Thank you. Enjoy Bangla.
It was a fantastic speech by Christopher. We hope to get him in person in another event probably later in the year. And now I would like to invite Mr. Bob Lancia. He's a former American legislator, an educator, and also a United States Navy chaplain. The floor is yours, Bob, who's joining us from Rhode Island in New York, in America, sorry.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I've got to say, listening to so many members of this august body, this group that gathered, some things really stand out to me. At the end of the day, what are we talking about? We're talking about people. They're not statistics. They're actual human living beings who deserve to live a life pursuing happiness and with a sense of dignity. And, you know, some of the statistics, and, you know, we want to recognize these statistics because they're so important. 3 million killed in Bangladesh, 50,000 alone in the capital, 200,000 rape victims, and 942 killing fields. I mean, it was an unmitigated disaster. And, you know, I think what we know from all of this is people need and are continuing to demand justice. You know, this resolution that went in here in America in Congress by Steve Cabot and Ro Khanna, I think it's so important. What is it asking for? Because I think this is really a starting point as well here in America. This U.S. resolution titled Recognizing the Bangladesh Genocide of 1971, what does it call for? It calls for punishment under international law against war criminals in the Pakistan Army and their allies for the murder of 3 million people in East Pakistan, now, of course, Bangladesh. Secondly, the government of Pakistan to acknowledge its role in the genocide and to offer formal apologies to the government and people of Bangladesh. And 3, the government of Pakistan to prosecute in accordance with international law any perpetrators still living. And why is this important? Because these initiatives pay tribute to the innocent millions who were the victims of the Bangladesh genocide. It is hoped, and it's my hope as well, that in the coming years, other organizations and countries will also recognize the Bangladesh genocide. And we heard a list of some of those, but not all, but especially the United Nations. They need to step up and do what's right and acknowledge this genocide. And one of our earlier speakers said, it's about politics. It is about politics. And so many times it's politics over people. We have to fix this, especially in this instance. And also, one of our former speakers talked about the foreign denial of right of existence. And that breaks my heart. You know, the United Nations and hopefully this resolution by the United States Congress will help, again, raise the right of existence. And maybe the names become people we know. You know, I had the opportunity to visit the Israel Holocaust Museum in Israel. And they have walls of books. And you know what they did for the 6 million Jews who were killed? They tried to record every single name and put them in those books, a library of books explaining and saying every single name of those who were affected. And wouldn't it be wonderful? And I have yet to visit the Holocaust Museum in Dhaka, but wouldn't it be wonderful to name each and every one of those 3 million, to have those names recorded, because they were individuals, they were people, they were not just statistics. And so I, had run for Congress, and I had thought I had won in 2020, and we may make a run again, but I'm very involved with the international community, my wife Marianne and I, and we have so many friends across the various ethnic communities. And I will continue in whatever capacity I can to fight for justice for those who deserve justice, who are marginalized, who are victims, whatever, anywhere around the world. But this is so important because it goes back to 1971. Time is ticking. And 50 years ago, the Jubilee in 2021, 50 years, Bangladesh was asking for accountability. And here it is 3 years later. The time is now, and this resolution in the House and many countries recognizing this genocide are so important. And we here in this group, by doing this today, continue to raise the issue. We're letting those who died know you are important, we care, and you will not be forgotten. Thank you.
It's a phenomenal speech, Bob. I'm very moved personally, and we do hope that you visit Dhaka at some point, and I'm sure the ministry official is here, where something could be organized. So thank you so much. We would like now to call upon Professor Dr. A.K.M. Shahnawaz. He's the Presidium member of the Bangladesh History Olympiad National Committee. He's also a professor in Jahangirnagar University, but he's joining us on behalf of Bangladesh History Olympiad today. The floor is yours, Professor. Thank you. So I think there might be a technical issue. Is Professor there? Okay, I think there is a technical issue. So I think we'll just have like a 1 minute closing submission because we are almost there for time. So I will invite Dr. Mamun to give his final 1 minute review or extract of this entire session. Thank you, Dr. Mamun.
I believe now I can be audible. Okay,
Yes,
as was about that you are remembered, that you are cared for, you are still important for us. Probably one thing that which had trouble. I grew up in that situation when the genocide itself was not really discussed because of certain issues that we had with governance in our country, because of the assassination of the father of the nation in 1975. And I was just thinking when you were speaking that these are not statistics. These are real humans with a name, with a life, with a story. And if that itself is forgotten, then what remains of it? It doesn't remain anything. I'll give you just one example. If you look at, although it's not part of genocide, that it's regicide. If you look at the Prime Minister's family, the father of the nation and his entire family is buried in the Manani graveyard. And you see that all the bodies are buried in one long grave. And you cannot really identify who is buried where. Well, I mean, definitely someone can, but it's not really that easy to find out. And if that could have happened here, what happened in the villages? What happened in the streets? Just across the street, there's the High Court, and then there is the Madhur Canteen, and all the historic places of Bangladesh. If you come over to Bangladesh, we'd like you to visit Bangladesh. And some say that the identity and the strength of the country lies in its people, but we say that the identity and the country's strength lies in the soil, which is basically purchased with blood, and that is human blood. We in the Indian subcontinent, we believe in human sacrifices, particularly in our part, and we actually sacrifice for our freedom. And probably the United States knows about it because it fought for its own freedom through a very bloodthirsty war. And then the civil rights movement, and then there was this civil war itself in Europe. All of these countries, each of us have gone through periods of severe dehumanize killings, and not only as in killings, the denial of it. That okay, it doesn't matter, it just washed away. That is something which needs to stop. And probably the reason that we start asking for it, it's not because of reparations or things like that from Pakistan, but it's just a matter of you know acknowledging that this is what had happened, and we're sorry for it. We understand that you didn't do it, but definitely there's no harm if you say that we're sorry for it because it really happened. And again, I was discussing with some of my friends that okay, in 1971, what had happened? All these people suddenly disappeared, or they went into hiding, or they had a heart attack. No, they did die, and all these bodies are buried in one single water well, or under a shady mangrove grove, or somewhere like that. Why? Who are these people? And if you look at it, you'll see that as you say, the time is ticking. We cannot really identify the names anymore. It's just one word name in Bangladesh, and probably Priyajit might be able to understand this. Just one word, that Gedurma, Pocharma, or something like that. It's like the very strange names, and that's how they're identified. So that
Thank,
is something, and we really appreciate the way that you've spoken because it suits our heart, it suits our soul.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Mamun. I would now like to request Stéphane for his final 1 minute contribution, please. Stéphane.
Yes, I'm going very fast. Thank you for your contribution. I'm completely agree with what Mr. Robert Belancia and Dr. Syed Muntasir Mamun said. We need to collect and to keep in our memory not only the names, of course, the names of each of them, but for the survivor people who could be testify and with the voices, because certainly many of testimony, many of people who could be witnesses could testimony about it with voices, with a side, with a family remembrance, and we could keep alive in a database video of testimony of these people that could be very useful for people who could try to deny that already exists. Because as Mr. Robert Belancia said, some people will try to deny, as always in many genocides. It's always the same thing that never exists, negative. Okay, you understand? So they will refuse to recognize. So that will be the evidences, live evidences. So why not to create a platform to collect video testify voices, faces, expression of their humanity to fight against inhumanity. Maybe it could be a good way to remember. So sorry to be too long.
Thank you, Stéphane. No problem. I would like Mr. Biro Diawara for his final closing remarks, please. Biro, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm agree with all proposal made by previous speakers, and we need to work together, researchers, politicians, human rights activists, and anthropologists, for reconstruction of memory. The memorization is very the key to fight against deny of genocide happening in 1991 in Bangladesh, in the other countries as well. My first introduction, there is in Kigali, Rwanda, museum of those victims. You can see the names, family, all was massacred by Hutu extremists during Rwanda genocide. It's important to reconstruct, to work together for reconstruction of memory of those victims. It's a duty responsibility of Bangladesh government, international community can help, and the UN as well to accompany for to rebuilding memory, historical memory of victims. Thank you very much. We, as Interfaith, also we are promoting UN plan action for responsibility of religious leaders and actors to prevent incitement to the violence that could lead atrocity and crimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, I think the United Nations will probably recognize it someday. And I would like to now call upon Bob for your final closing comments, please, Bob.
Thank you so much. The one thing I would say is, and in the end, as I said previously, this is about people. These are about human beings who existed. These are people who wanted to live a life of happiness, fulfillment, and dignity, and they were denied that opportunity. And we owe them justice. We owe them the opportunity to have their grievances and what happened to them recognized. And so I call, as we close this today, I call on the United Nations. It's great that the United States is put a resolution in some of our Congress people, but now the United States needs to go to the United Nations, President Biden, and say the time is now. Let's introduce this, let's get this done, and let's get this passed. Time is past, it's over, do it now. And I think we need to call on him, supposedly, the freest nation, the largest, well, you know what? Step up and do the right thing. And let's end this. Let's get people recognized, and let's honor these people whose lives were lost. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bob. And we completely agree that, yes, of course, this is the time. So I think we are almost out of time, but I think Professor Shahnawaz has joined, sir. Do you want to give a very short speech, because we are almost out of time? So the floor is yours. I'm very sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I extend a warm welcome to each one of you online presence here today, and express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizer for this significance webinar. Today we convene to shed light on the dark chapter of history, a chapter stained with the blood of innocents by unspeakable cruelties. The brutal genocide that befell East Pakistan, present-day Bangladesh in 1971 remains engraved in our collective memory as a bitter testament to the depth of human cruelty. Following the 1970 national election in Pakistan, where the Awami League secured a decisive victory, it was clear that power would transition to the Bengali people under the leadership of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. However, the ruling establishment in West Pakistan, in coalition with Bhutto, refused to relinquish control to the Bengali majority, thus setting the stage for a heinous campaign to silence their voices. Escape something. In the aftermath of the Liberation War, countless mass graves bearing witness to the genocide were unearthed across Bangladesh. The horrible discoveries serve as distressful reminders of the immense suffering endured by the Bengali populace. Allow me to recount a few examples with few words. Firstly, in Dinajpur district, a torture chamber was uncovered outside the TNT office, where thousands of Bengalis were subjected to unspeakable horrors before meeting their tragic demise. Secondly, the Chuknagar massacre in Khulna district stands as a grim testament to the ruthlessness of Pakistan army, with thousands of innocent lives lost in a matter of hours. Similarly, the cruelties committed in places like Jinjira and Mirpur, at Dhaka, Chittagong, and Saidpur at Nilphamari district underscore the widespread spread and systematic nature of the genocide perpetuated by the Pakistani forces and their collaborators. According to the findings of the Genocide, Torture, and Freedom War Research Center, approximately 5,000 killing sites and burial grounds have been identified across 20 districts in Bangladesh. Further, performing the scale and severity of the uh, cruelties. It is incumbent upon us as custodians of justice and champions of humanity to unequivocally denounce that heinous acts as genocide. We call upon the United Nations to recognize and declare the cruelties committed by the Pakistani army in Bangladesh in 1971 as genocide in order to honor the memory of the victims and ensure that justice is served. In conclusion, very limited word here. Let us stand together in solidarity with the people of Bangladesh and with all victims of genocide worldwide as we strive to ensure that the horrors of the past and never forgotten and that such cruelties are never repeated. Thank you very much.
Professor. Thank you very much, Professor. I'm sure on the next occasion we will get more time and the technical difficulties could be overcome. We have almost run 10 minutes over. I would like to just present the floor to my the General Secretary of Bangladesh History Olympiad, my friend, my co-author, Mr. Abu Syed, who will just give the vote of thanks and the conclude time. I'm very sorry, Mr. Syed. The floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With us, the Bangladesh Genocide 71, they initiated both Mukto, Asor, and Bangladesh History Olympiad. We started institute in 2017. So, thank you very much, Janet, Mr. Bob Lancia, aka Shahnawaz sir, Syed Muntasir, Mamun Bhai, Siddiq, Stéphane, Biro, Stephen Blackburn, and Priyajit. Thank you very much all.
Thank you very much. I extend my heartfelt gratitude and thank you everybody for taking time of your precious day to attend this webinar. I'm sure our voices will resonate and we will continue this endeavor in the future. We're just 11 minutes past our cutoff time. So have a nice day wherever you are and we look forward to meeting you very soon. Thank you. All the very best.
Hopefully, thank you very much. I hope to see you soon in Geneva in person to have symposium on same issue.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.